What is up, people? How is it going? This is Sam back again with another video, and in this video I'm going to do the second part of a scientific calculator project that I started. Okay, now I'm going to do the backend part. Okay, so in this part I'm going to do only the normal calculations like plus, minus, multiplications, divisions, etc, etc. Okay, so for that I need to make this button to printable. Okay, in this text input box. Okay, if I clicking this button, nothing is happening, so I'm going to add this ability to button. If I click this button, then here in this text input the text is going to filled up, okay, according to these buttons. Okay, so for that let me add a function here, call define, let's say text input, and here I'm going to pass an argument. Okay, let's say right. Okay, and this argument is an instance of, let's say, this button. Okay, this argument is an instance of this button, so I'm going to bind this button's on release method with this instance. Okay, so I'm going to access this ID. Okay, here I'm going to access this ID self dot calculations equal self dot IDs dot. Okay, now self dot calculations plus equal self dot, sorry guys, plus equal this right. That means I'm going to as I mentioned earlier, this right instance is actually this button. Okay, so this button has attribute called text, and each text is came from these list items. Okay, so I'm going to access this text attribute. That means I am accessing this text attribute. Okay, now let me bind this function with this button. Okay, now self dot, now I'm going to bind this function with this button. Okay, so buttons dot bind, I'm going to call this on release method self dot text input, and okay, I just called this text input function. Okay, now let me save this. Here we got this app that was auto reloaded, and now I'm going to, oh sorry guys, there may be an error. Okay, so what's the error? Unsupported operand plus equal text input and str. Okay, sorry guys, I did a mistake here. I need to access text to attribute. Okay, so from this text input there is a attribute called text. Okay, this attribute I need to access this text attribute in this line. Okay, so text, and I don't need this. Let me save this, and now I'm going to check if it is working or not. Okay, here we can see everything is working, but in this button, okay, here we can see these buttons are also these buttons behavior are also like these buttons. Okay, so I need to fix it. Whenever the user is going to click this button, then all the screen's text, all the text should be clear out. Okay, and if this button is pressed, then only one single number will be clear out. Okay, so I'm going to set a condition. If CE in, let's say, if write dot text equal c self dot calculations dot text equal empty. Okay, and if write dot text equal c, then self dot calculations dot text equal, let's say I'm going to modify this text. Okay, whenever a user is going to click this C button, then one number is going to clear out. Okay, so for that I need to format this whole text. Okay, so self dot calculations dot text, and I'm going to remove the last digit. So for that minus 2. Okay, so why I just write this 2? Basically it is going to let me explain. If I click this, then we can see this alphabet is just appeared in the text box. So it is going to remove this C and also the other one. Okay, also the other one, let's say 8C. Whenever the button is going to press, then it is going to remove C and also 8. So there are two number. Okay, so I'm going to remove both C and the last digit. Okay, so let me now let me save this file. Okay, if I press it, here we can see the digit is removing, and if I press this button, then we can see the text box is just wiped out. Okay, now I'm going to add some functions like summation, division, and subtraction or multiplication. So guys, so for that I'm going to add a function called result. Okay, and this result is going to let's say I'm going to pass arguments, and from here let me create a variable called self dot function. Okay, self dot function equal let me call this text attribute, let me call this text inputs text. Okay, so for that I'm going to access this id, and this id is referenced by this variable. Okay, so I'm going to access this self dot calculations dot text, and I will format it in string format. Okay, now this whole text or the calculations is loaded in this variable. Okay, and now I'm going to create a variable called self dot ans, and self dot ans will be self dot ids dot ans. But what is actually this id? I didn't created it. Okay, so for that I'm going to add a relative layout here. So relative layout, and let me indent this, and here I'm going to create a label. So if I save this, the answer is going to print here. Okay, just focus on the mouse, focus on the arrow here. The answer is going to print here, and the calculation will be here. Okay, so I just added a relative layout, and in this relative layout I added a text input and a label widget. Okay, let me add label widget, and I'm going to set this id as ans, okay, because these ans is actually sorry guys, these variable or this line of code is actually refers this widget. Okay, now I'm going to set the position. Let me set the font size first. Font size will be, let's say, 25 dp, and then I'm going to set the position, pose hint. Let me set the center of x-axis to 0.25 and center of y-axis, okay, it will be, let's say, 0.25. sorry guys, I did a mistake. Center of x will be 0.85 because I want to load this level in this part. Okay, so it will be at 0.85. so the calculations, or sorry guys, the answer is going to print out in these IDs, that means in this level. Okay, now I'm going to let me set a variable called result, and let me add underscore because I already added result keyword here. Okay, so result to equal, I'm going to evaluate this function or this variable. So result equal eval function. Okay, I need to pass the self argument. Okay, self dot function. Now self dot ans dot text, that means this labels text. Okay, it will be the result. Okay, result. Now let me save this and check if it is working or not. Sorry guys, nothing appearing. Nothing is appearing because I didn't add any kind of function in this. I didn't bind any kind of function in this equal button. Okay, so for that, let me bind this. Let me bind this function in this result button. Okay, so for that, result dot bind. Okay, on release self dot result. Okay, that's how it's done. Now I will check if it is working or not. Okay, 8 plus 6, there I got an error because I didn't format this result into string. Okay, I need to format this result into string. Let me save this file and let me do a math. Here we got the answer, 88 plus 6 equal 94. And let me clear this out. 2 minus 9 equal minus 7. Let me do some multiplication. I will get an error maybe. Okay, so because 6 into 3 is actually not a format to print, not a format to do calculation in Python. Okay, so for multiplication you maybe use an asterisk, so I need to fix it. So for that I'm going to add a condition. If x, that means whenever a user is going to click this multiplication button, then x is going to appear. Okay, that means this x. Okay, I'm going to copy this and paste it here because I need to have the exact key. Okay, so if x in self dot, okay, I need to pass it under the self dot okay, if x in self dot function, then just simply replace x to x asterisk. Okay, so self dot function equals self dot function dot replace. What I'm going to replace? I'm going to replace this cross sign to an asterisk. Okay, I need to make it in a string format. Okay, now if I save this file, here we got, and if I click 8 into 6, here we got 8 into 6 equal 48. Okay, so how we just fixed it, that's how we just fixed it right here. Okay, if I do some error like 88, let's say I did some mathematical error, here we got syntax error, unexpected EOF, end of file while parsing. Okay, now I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to handle this error using a try exception method. Try this exception. If any kind of exception occurred, then self dot calculations dot text equal error. Okay, now if I do any kind of error now, okay, here we got this print message. Okay, I just handled this error right here. So guys, that's for today's video. In my next video I'm going to show you how these history buttons work, because I'm going to save all kind of maths in this history button. So guys, till then, stay tuned. That's for today's video. Subscribe to my channel, and goodbye.